2 years plus. A young man walked into the office and you could see the value, you could see the passion, you could see the dedication of a man who came into this city and was not going to take no for an answer. One of the things I have learned over the years to do is to value everyone who had come across my way. Never look down on anybody. You never can tell where God is taking them to. And God is not done with you yet until you're done with yourself. This is a man who knew what he wanted to get, walked into the city and was not ready to back down until he got what he wanted to get. And 2 years down the line, the evidence is obvious. Results is what cancels insults. You don't go about explaining yourself. Let people see what you've set out to do and what you do it. It's not even about talking about it. It's about getting ready, having the capacity to do what you want to do. 2 years, Abuja is feeling the heat. Abuja is feeling the impact. I've been privileged to host events, but I can tell you for free that this event is no mean feat. For one man to pull together, this is what a government should do. But a man is doing it single-handedly. With support of friends, he's making this happen. I'm sure you are aware that real estate is the second highest paying industry as far as Nigeria is concerned. Can I also say to you that this is an industry that employs more young people than any industry even government can boast of. And yet there is one man who is driving that initiative, driving technology, driving the legal aspect of it, driving development, driving the real estate sector, not from a state, but from the capital. Whatever you can get done here, you can get done in any state. We are privileged to have a man who had put this meeting together, the Abuja Real Estate Conference. He did it last year. It was only a preview of what is to come. I can only but imagine what will happen in 2026 with a standing ovation, like you mean to celebrate somebody who is an achiever. He is a goal-getter. He is a trailblazer. Help me receive the CEO, Fortreal Limited. Help me receive Mr. Ijeomah Raymond. Is that the way you celebrate the commander of this
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Doing this is not easy. The emotional stress is something. We started planning this about 5 months ago. And I was in church on a Sunday morning when Apostle Femi Lazarus was preaching, and even though I said this will never be done again, he was preaching something else, and I knew the Holy Spirit was saying, do this again. And this time around, bigger and better. And today, with the support of other partners and everybody in between, we are here. And indeed, it is bigger and better. This is a 1,000 capacity hall. And as of this morning, we had 4,600 registrations. And clearly, there are people standing outside. I went outside a moment ago, and we had to pray for an overflow. And this can only be God. Like I said, I'm 2 years plus in Abuja. And I want to share something very brief with us that should inspire you in relation to the fact that I'm here and it's been 2 years plus. I've met a number of persons. When I say I'm quite new to the city, in fact, when you hear me talk about the master plan and everything in between, if you watch videos on YouTube, you can go to our YouTube channels and just look through. When you hear me talk about certain things about the city, you feel like I'm part of those that designed the master plan, right? In fact, it is the week I entered this city, this Abuja, that I did a video titled 7 Things You Need to Know Before You Invest in Real Estate in Abuja. That takes something. I'm going to share a few things with us very quickly. What I have is 3 words. I don't want you to go home without remembering these 3 words. Number 1, envision. Number 2, grow. Number 3, become. Can we say that together? Envision, grow, and become. And I titled it The Pathway to Greatness Through Grace, Vision, Audacity, and Ruthless Execution. If you're a student of mine here, you would be very familiar with that phrase, ruthless execution. Haven't transited into the phase where life, you have to pay your bills and everything in between. I knew that definitely I couldn't go back home to look for money. And having crossed that realm, I just needed to start life for myself. And eventually, God helped me, directed my path to coming into a law firm where a lot of things were about real estate transaction, very good boss at the time. And I told myself the day I entered the office that I was going to spend 2 years in this office. 2 years learning, 2 years doing everything I could to make sure that I gathered all the knowledge and experience I needed to go into what I wanted to do, which was real estate. Now, a few months to the time I was supposed to resign. So in other words, I was supposed to resign December 2020. And it happened a few months to that time. All the money I was saving to eventually now resign so that I can, start life as it were, everything went. I lost it to Pennywise and MBA Forest. And that was a very bad moment for me. In addition to that, because of COVID, that was the year of COVID. In addition to that, my good boss couldn't pay me for 3 months. And then it was a question of, should I still resign? In fact, the whole world was at a point where most persons didn't know what January 2021 was going to look like. But I already told myself 2 years ago that I must resign and start life for me 2 years after. And I did. I dropped the resignation letter 29th of December 2020, not knowing where the next meal was going to come from. But I am super glad every day that I had the courage and the audacity to make that decision. Now, it's a long story, but the very first point of the story is that I decided to be wealthy. I'm from a background where a lot of us really, you're not so sure of how your last month, your monthly alawi was going to come. It was bad. It wasn't really nice. Cassava was, cassava. In fact, at a point, part of the reasons I used to say it, part of the reasons I feel like my skin not to shine is because I fried gari so much. There's a smoke that comes from frying gari. How many of you, okay, a few hands here, great, right? And I feel like that thing affected my skin. So that was what inspired me, and I truly decided that this wealth thing, poverty, I'm going to escape from it. Wealth, I'm going to be really into it. And that was the first decision, which is a matter of decision. Now, the next major decision I took was moving to this city called Abuja. First, I'd never done any real estate transaction in this city. In fact, the only thing that brought me to Abuja was my law school, our clearance and call to bar and all of that. And I'd never done anything here. I'd never sold any property here. And all of a sudden, first I attempted relocating to the UK or Lagos. But for whatever reason, I knew that it was supposed to be Abuja. And when I came here, it pretty much happened. In fact, before I came here, the challenge was fear. I was afraid. Extremely afraid. I had just gotten married. My beautiful wife is here. Please put them together for my wife, Biko. And just in case you're not married, it's quite important who you marry. Because everything about me, I'm sort of a jumper. And by jumper, I mean, I'm happy to take the risk. But this time around, I'm now married, and I can't just take that risk alone. But right there, I have a wife who said, no problem, let's do this. No argument. And we attempted it the first time. We had a lot of fear, in fact, that was the point that there were a lot of UK alerts, that US threats, bomb threats, and all of those things. And it was as though Abuja was a war zone. And in fact, one of the mistakes we made was even telling our parents that we're moving here. At that time, in the evening, they would just call, "Una here waiting, they talk for news. Una still they go, they could stay Benin now." And I was doing fine in Benin. But I knew that I could be more. I could do more. And that was what spurred it. And eventually, we attempted it. In fact, the real time that we said, let's do this, it happened that we had to pay rent twice just to be in this city. We paid the first rent, and the landlord was looking like he was going to scam us. And I told my wife, we'll pay the second rent. We paid the second rent. And in fact, we're already on our way to Abuja when the landlord had to. So in fact, Ima is here. Ima is part of the persons, my friend Ima was part of those who helped me to be fighting, writing later, and all of that. And eventually we came here. And I'm telling this story because I want to make you understand certain important things to really building wealth. Whether as an investor, I saw a couple of my clients around, whether as an investor, whether as a realtor, whether as a developer, it takes a lot of guts, it takes a lot of courage to do certain things. And the summary of this slide is facing my fear with faith. All right. And eventually we entered the city. And 9 months after entering the city, I said I wanted to host a conference. And I told my team that we're going to host the biggest conference in Abuja, biggest real estate conference in Abuja. And you can imagine somebody who is 9 months in Abuja telling you he wants to host the biggest conference in the city. And eventually, we did that last year. And today, again, we are here on the basis of scaling. Scaling. And the scaling I'm talking about here is not scaling your business, but scaling your audacity. You are still with me? There's something I teach. Sometimes it's not more knowledge that you need. Sometimes it is more courage. A lot of you know too much already. In fact, a lot of us know too much already. It's just that fear not let you put 100K to run the ad. First of all, it could be this 100K, it go lost. So. The second could be, is the video good enough? Do I know enough? Now, today, I am able to do what I am doing. And if you ask me, one of the reasons what I'm doing, irrespective of the fear that would come with it, some of you, in fact, a lot of you may not have an idea how much that went into this. And if you ask me if there's one tiny thing that could be the reason for all of that, that courage, that audacity, is the fact that I want to impact my world. If you notice, I was quite passionate when the song was being sung. And for me, it is just that I want to make a difference in the life of another person. I want to make a difference. And that is what spurred the Fortreal Real Estate Academy. That is what inspired the Fortreal Real Estate Academy. And part of that is, if you look through our courses at the Fortreal Real Estate Academy, you will realize that everything is based on my experiences. I'm not the guy, I research, but to be honest with you, the best part of my course is not based on research, it's based on me, it's based on my experiences, it's based on my mistakes, it's based on my struggles. In fact, as a lawyer, you know that selling real estate is not easy. Selling real estate is not just this mouth, there's more to selling real estate. And for example, when we created the 7-figure sales and marketing course, it was because I started earning the list of 7 figures every month, consistently, back to back. And then I realized that, okay, if I could do this despite my struggle, then I can teach it. And I started teaching it, and we're raising millionaires from that course. So if you are into real estate here, be rest assured that one day, they will knock on your door. And if you have ever posted any video online, be rest assured that they know you. They are waiting till when the account is big enough, and they will come. The same thing with FROS, tax people. Now, these were the two things that motivated the government regulations and compliance course. For the tax course, it is the tax issue. A friend of mine is here. If I point at him, last year, they fined him 15 million because of tax. So you realize that everything we're doing is practical. It is from the base of what is real, what is happening here. And just so that we are able to now impact, help you not to make the same mistakes that other persons are making. And the last part of my conversation and thought to you is become. I posted something a few days back that as realtors, stop focusing on selling. Start focusing on becoming. And that is where growth comes into play. If you just want to sell, not to be derogatory, but there was an example here about, I want the man to refer me or buy from me. You could switch it. What are you giving? How are you growing? Because if you are growing along with that person, there will definitely be something that we exchange. And when it clicks, trust me, there will be another exchange. I like to say that sales is beyond the transaction. It's about the people involved and the conversations. And the conversations draws back. The conversation takes you back to who you are, the growth that you carry. There are certain things, in fact, this month alone, in all honesty, I have closed the biggest deals with the least stress. Why? Becoming. I have come to the level or the realm where I have grown. You can't help it. Certain things are just meant to flow naturally. So if you ask me if there are 3 words you must leave here with today: envision, grow, and focus on becoming. When you become, certain things will flow. Even when you become, if for whatever reason you make a mistake and there is an issue, you will be able to deal with the challenges. When you just jump in, definitely you may be able to crash down. So if you're able to become, the moment you become, you stabilize at that level, you now begin to manage issues, manage clients, deal with government, EFCC, tax people, and all of that. One thing you should know that Zoom, as somebody into real estate, is the fact that they don't enforce laws in Nigeria. We used to say that thing, right? Nigeria get laws, but then the enforcement with the issue. You said that thing before, yes or yes? If you are into real estate, try as much as you can to make sure that you are obeying the laws. Because one day, because government needs money, they will enforce it on your head. Right? So as you get to that level, growth helps you to be able to manage who you have become. Who you have become. And that should be the summary of my entire conversation with you.